So here's Kerberos in action. When the user is authenticated to the domain, it will request a ticket granting ticket, which is kind of a, a, an authorization card that they get from the domain controller. So what happens is the first step, the user will authenticate, will get the timestamp, and then encrypt the timestamp with the password hashed in memory, and then we'll send this to the domain controller. So this will be, I'll make this blue. Blue. Basically gets a timestamp and then encrypt it with the its hash password. The domain controller would get that request, so make it orange, and it will decrypt the timestamp using the actual hash that exists in memory, because the domain controller knows the hash for the user password. So in that case, it will decrypt it, and if it's within 5 minutes time-wise, has to be a 5-minute within 5-minute request. And then if it does fall within that time limit, the actual server the domain controller would send back the user the ticket granting TGT, which is an encrypted blob of data that has just the user identity and user privileges, and it cannot be read by the actual user. It's just a token that they use to request additional services. So now the user wants to access a web service. Now what they need to do is they want to get a kind of an authorization to access that web service. So how do they do that? They will basically, they need access to the web service, whatever the user or any other service for that matter, and the user would send the service name that the user wants to access. It will send that service name to the domain controller. The domain controller would verify that they are authorized to access it, and if they are authorized to access it, they will be sent a ticket granting service, TGS. That ticket granting service would be, we'll make it in blue. That ticket granting service would be kind of like the ticket that allows them to access that service. So, okay, then the user now wants to access that service. They got the ticket granting service. They will send it to the web service. Also, step 6, they send a TGS, and if the user is allowed, then access will be granted. Based on the ticket granting service, the user would be granted access to that web service. So that's how the authorization process works.